Greetings, grasshoppers. Welcome. Fasten those goggles. Put that cape on. We are ready for the quest for epic engagement. Today, my guest, somebody I met like a year ago. Holy moly, where does the time go? Heather Cresswell. She's going to talk to us about leadership today. You
Mm.
know, leadership is it's not a title. You know, we're the leaders of our own companies, we're the leaders of our tribes. And there are some things that I think Heather's going to pass on to us today that are vital to being able to do that job and accept that mantle well. So, everybody, please do give your kind and generous attention to Heather Cresswell. Heather, so good to have you on the show today.
It's brilliant to be here. Thank you so much. I know it's taken a while, but fantastic to be with you this evening. Well, it's evening here.
It's getting there. It's getting there here too.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Well, so gosh, we were chatting before we came on all
Mhm.
about your impact blueprint. So let's get a little background. How did you come to do what you're doing now?
I was a very high performing sportswoman. I actually swam for South Africa and had really grown up in this environment of pushing yourself. You pushing yourself to succeed, pushing yourself to compete. That was where I got all my acknowledgement from. My dad was my biggest supporter, and spent hours in the pool training and really pushing myself. And then when I was 24, I had just competed in a canoeing race. My husband and I got married very young, and I had two kids in my early 20s. And we'd just done the doozy, and we'd moved house, and there was a lot of stuff that was going on. And we'd moved to a little country called Swaziland here in Africa. And I went out for a run because I'd now set my next target, and my body just stopped working. And I, I thought, geez, what's going on here? I must have like flu or something like that. And I kind of dragged myself home, and I was really, really fit, and waited a day or two, and then headed out again, and then got even, didn't get even halfway down the road, and had the same experience. And that led me to getting quite ill. So my immune system was very, very badly compromised, and I was really sick. And I had started off exploring, normal medicine and going to the doctor, but they couldn't really help me. And, I got diagnosed with yuppie flu and this virus and Epstein-Barr virus and all of that kind of thing. And, my white blood cell count was really down, and I was finished. I was literally, I couldn't do anything. And so I started my quest. I love that quest word. And I went on this quest of healing myself. And that led me to a workshop and to meeting some very, very interesting people. And on that very first workshop that I went on, I just my mind just expanded, and I opened up, and I realized that we are so much more than what we think we are on the surface. We're so influenced by our, patterns of experience that we've had, by the generational patterns that live in our DNA, by our cultural patterns. And so I suppose it was part of the human potential movement. And suddenly this whole world opened up of my potential. And then beyond that, into the field of other people's potential. And that the way that we think and feel about ourselves can be very, very limiting. And so it was through that personal journey of discovery that I actually started my own healing. And from that very first experience on that workshop, I'd never experienced anything like that in my life. I grew up in quite a conservative family. um, I just knew that that was my mission. And so I've run and worked on, hundreds and hundreds of workshops literally since 1994, until I finished working on, big public workshops in 2016. And then recently, yeah, took all of that energy and passion into working with leaders, and I've been working with businesses and companies since about 2010. Yeah, yeah.
And so how do you define a leader?
A leader for me is a person who has the energy and the mindset to be able to influence outcomes and influence people in a really healthy and positive way for the good of all. So
Okay.
it's a win-win mindset, and they're very much more about collaboration than competition. They compete with themselves,
Yeah.
not not with other people in order to win. Yeah.
Nice.
Mm.
And how many people do you have to be leading to be considered a leader?
Well, I think leadership starts with yourself, and the only person that you really, really need to lead is yourself. And so I think that we all have the potential to be leaders. Not all of us want to go out and lead big teams. Not all of us want to be the CEO or, be influencing other people. But the ability to influence ourselves, to influence our internal state, to have the resilience to face challenges, that's the kind of leadership that I think is where it all begins.
It absolutely is, because if I mean, I've said it many times, if you try to engage other people and you are not engaged,
Mm,
welcome to just adding to the noise out there. It's just
yeah,
not, it does not work.
yeah.
And gosh, I remember a long time ago, when I was back in corporate, which just seems like another lifetime
Mm,
ago at this
mm,
point, but I don't know, we had talked, and I was getting in my, what, lower 40, upper 30s, lower 40s,
mm,
and my boss and I were talking, and he was, for some reason or another, he just, it wasn't the place for me. I'll just preface you with
mm,
that. But he
mm.
he just all of a sudden said, "Well, we were gonna, put you in charge of the department, but you're just not a leader."
Wow.
And I remember thinking, man, like, I've worked really hard.
Mm,
Why am I not being recognized as this?
mm,
Not even knowing, not even knowing that I am a really good leader, actually.
mm.
Take me out of the micromanagement zone.
Yeah.
Let me have a brain,
Mm,
and make some
mm,
decisions.
mm,
I will lead. I will. And I
mm,
have. But
mm,
I just wasn't
mm,
willing to see it that way. Do you run into a lot of people that are in leadership positions that don't even necessarily see themselves being capable of being leaders?
mm, mm. Yeah, I think there's a lot of that. There's imposter syndrome. I'm sure you've heard about that, and people speak to you about having that. And I think that it's really key to know who you are, and to trust that, to know what your core values are. So, one of the things that we look at on the impact blueprint is we look at core values, and core values are not general values. You might say to me, family is important to you, and that's a value, and that's a great value. But a core value is, what do you experience when you're with your family? How do you feel? Do you have a sense of love? Do you have a sense of belonging? Do you have a sense of connection? And so I think that when you excavate into that, and you understand what really really matters to you in terms of how you want to feel every day, how you want to live, what's really really important to you, then you can start to make decisions based on that. And so, even when I am interviewing a client to come on board, then they it's got to be in alignment with my values. It's got to be somebody that I feel connected to, that I like, and that possibly love. We don't like to use the love word in business, but I use it a lot. and that, there's energy there, and there's in terms of having enough energy to transform. And so I think as a leader, the more you understand yourself, or even, I mean, as a person, the more you understand yourself, the more you understand those patterns, that I've spoken about, around what if the experiences in your life led you to believe about yourself? And are those beliefs really true? Because you might not think that you're a leader based on what your primary school teacher said to you and told you that you were stupid or that you wouldn't amount to anything. And because of being so young, you didn't have the filter there to say, well, you know that's nonsense. You just absorbed it. But unless you're willing to go on a journey or a quest of that, your personal discovery of how that's influencing you today, those beliefs, those maybe, assumptions that you're making about life or about work or about relationships or about your colleagues, or people are out to get you, or you're never going to make it. We live in reaction to that. And so I think that's really where that doubt comes in. And I went to a talk the other day by a very brilliant entrepreneur here in Cape Town, and he said he had a different take on imposter syndrome. He said it was a really good thing in terms of it's always keeping us a little bit awake, and that we need to keep growing into who we want to be. And because on the impact blueprint, identity is actually the very first section or first area of that we look at when people come onto the program, is who are you really, and what do you believe about yourself that might not be true, and what could you believe about yourself that could really free you from that and liberate you to fulfill your fullest potential. Yeah. That was a
I
long
think.
answer to your question.
Oh, it's good. No worries at all. Gosh, yeah, that identity feature, and
Mm,
you were talking about values. I wanted to hit back on that a second
mm,
because
mm,
it, you know what? I recently had like a milestone type birthday,
mhm.
and I decided for myself that I no longer needed to work with folks that are completely out of tune with my
Mm,
values. I
yeah.
don't have to do it any longer. Yeah, there might be some tense money conversations,
Mhm,
but I'm much more willing to have those than I
mm,
am to accept people in my life who, uh, you know, don't value the same things at all. It's not that they're
yeah.
not great people; they're great
Mm,
people. They just have a
mm,
completely different way,
mm,
and they value such different parts of the process that connection is just not going to happen.
yeah.
So yeah, no, I just wanted to say kudos for
Mm,
focusing on the things
yeah.
that, I mean, that those types of things, absolutely. Identity. You're talking about your impact blueprint. Can you go on a
Mm,
little bit more about what that
mm,
is?
mm. So the Impact Blueprint it's a leadership program that leaders and teams can come on, and what we do is we get together in person once a month, and I run a workshop, 1 day workshop, and then there's support that happens throughout the month as well for the individuals in the team. But it's identity, so it's looking at generational patterns, cultural patterns, what we've spoken about, in terms of patterns. It's looking at what's sitting in your unconscious and what really drives you. So, we much nature always reflects back at us, and as humans, our consciousness is very much like an iceberg. So, 10% we is conscious, and the other 90% is unconscious. And our work is to really bring the unconscious into the conscious. And what we see on the top, what we're conscious of is we're conscious of the actions that we take and the results that we get. What we're not conscious of is what's driving those actions, and therefore the results that we get. And sometimes we're not taking the best action. We're not getting very good results. And that is a result of our beliefs. It's the result of our assumptions. It's the result of our history or herstory. And it's the result of whether we got our needs met, whether we didn't. And I've met very few people in my life doing this work who's had all of their needs met. And that's not to say that you need to be a victim of your life story, or it's how you tell it, it's how you tell your story. But we dive into that and we look and see what's actually driving you, and what would be, you know we look at the values, we look at beliefs, we look at those patterns, and what can we transform in order to take better actions and get better results in our life. What is it that's really stopping us from getting those results? And then the M is around meaning. So that's where we dive into our values and what gives us meaning, what makes our life meaningful. And I think you and I both know, attention, that the attention that we bring to something gives it meaning. I can make a dinner and it can be beautiful because I've paid attention while I've been making it, and it becomes a meaningful process. So what is it that you want to give attention to? So what really matters to you, and therefore what do you want to give attention to? And we look at that and we unpack that. And then the P is around people, and really building the relationships that are going to end the sense of isolation that people are experiencing in the workplace. And I mean, it's not only in the workplace, it's in communities and families, and as well. But we spend so much time at work. How do we build those incredible relationships that are going to make it so that we are excited to come to work? But that's also around the leader understanding their essence, building their own leadership presence, building their own personal brand that comes as an authentic expression of who they are. And so it's looking at, how do you listen to your colleagues? Are you listening to respond, or are you listening with curiosity as to where they're going next with their thinking? Are they interrupted all the time? How do you let people know that you see them? How do you let people know that you hear them, and that you're really curious about who they are? And so we look at building, how do we build those relationships, and what are some of the behaviors that build that? And then from that, it's action, and taking inspired action. And and there's something very interesting that the Heart Math Institute has discovered, and that is that when we are in coherence, so when we feel very aligned and we feel in those states of flow and creativity comes out of us, there's a level of synchronicity between our brainwave frequencies and our heart frequencies. And so when we're setting a vision, that vision needs to come from our heart, not just be a good idea. Because what happens, just very briefly, is that the heart frequency will never change to match the brain frequency, but your brainwave frequency changes to match your heart frequency. And so when you have a vision that comes from your heart and you start to take actions that is in alignment with that, the mind comes into service of the heart. And I know this sounds a bit woo woo, but really there is neuroscience that is behind it. And so, you start to have inspired ideas, which leads to inspired action. So, you know what it's like. It's like you've got this vision for something, you've got this idea about something, and it just taps into your heart. And suddenly you just got this amazing ideas and next steps that you want to take. And suddenly then you're in the flow of it and it starts to happen. And not to say that you're not going to have challenges along the way, but that vision's so powerful, it pulls you over those challenges and through them. And so that's really around taking action, and we do a personal priority plan. And so there's strategy and process and application, as well as learning about yourself. So it's not all just kind of up in the air. It's how do you take that and make it concrete and actionable. And then the C is around culture, and how do you build a culture of courageous contribution where people are bringing their ideas, they're bringing their thoughts, they needing to innovate. I mean, you're right on the cutting edge of all of the innovation that's happening right now. If people aren't open-minded and agile and willing to adapt and change, they're going to get left behind.
Yeah.
And so it's really around welcoming that, the new, and being able to adapt to that, and that goes into the team as well. So it's welcoming different thinking. Humans are the only, if you look at nature, it's so diverse. We're the only ones that want to seek people that are the same as us. It makes us feel so comfortable. It's like in our comfort zone. And so, what we want is, we want diversity, we want different thinking, we want people to, from different cultures, from, different generations as well, so that you've got mentoring and wisdom, and you've got reverse mentoring, because, like, what do I know about AI? A lot less than what my teenage daughter does. so, it's being willing to do that, and to create a sense of belonging, and where people can contribute, and where you're willing to take calculated risk, and you learn from your failures, and you celebrate your successes, and fail fast and forward, and you keep moving. But there is this sense of people able to really contribute, because that's when you're going to get fantastic thinking. And then the last one is to thrive. So the T is for thrive, and we look at the cycle of regeneration. How do we manage our energy daily? How do we manage it? The cycle, get back to living into a cycle of regeneration within the context of nature, because we connected in to nature. And so, there's beautiful stories about how nature changes its identity. The white rabbits, the snowshoe rabbits in Washington, it changes to white in winter, but now there's no snow there in winter, or there's less snow. So you've got this white rabbit on a brown background. Oh, it becomes lunch for everybody. It's already in such a short space of time. There are rabbits in Washington that are no longer molting, so they're not going white anymore. That's how you can shift your identity. You've got to respond. You've got to be able to shift, not lose your essence. The bunny or the hare is not losing its essence, but its identity is moving to meet the external challenge that it's facing. Mm.
Well, and
That's a
flexibility.
nutshell.
Yeah, that's a nutshell. Wow. All right. Big nut. Yeah, no, this is it's fascinating to me, because these are not
Mm,
generally, the types of things that you hear people, getting coached on for leadership.
yeah.
But it makes so much sense that in, you and I were talking before, in a very isolated and
Mm,
disconnected world, uh, these are the types of things, these are the skills
mm,
that we need.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
Well, absolutely fantastic. So sorry, my wife gets home, and my dog has to go and greet her immediately, so there's always that.
Well, my
But
dog's lying here on the chair next to me, so
oh, mine's always at my elbow. He except when his other mom comes home. But
It's beautiful.
yeah, how so I mean, I'm fascinated. How can people learn more about your impact
Mm,
blueprint, about you, about everything you got going on?
mm. So I'm on LinkedIn under Heather Cresswell, and my business is called The Alchemy of Leadership. My website is heathercreswell.com. And then also, I'm going to be sharing a link with you for you to go and do the impact assessment, which is a high level assessment of, your leadership impact at the moment. How you're able to influence what's working, what's not working, and that'll give you a snapshot of the areas of development. And yeah, I would love to chat with you and connect with you on LinkedIn, and yeah, really see you shine as a leader. I think that's my heart's desire. Mm,
Whew, that's beautiful.
mm,
I know a lot of entrepreneurs out there. Even if you're a one person business out there,
mm,
you still
mm,
got to lead yourself.
mm, mm,
Figuring out where your values are, figure out what the different letters in the impact, blueprint that stuff is so it's
Mm.
so easy to ignore, because we've got a lot of stuff to do and we're wearing 78 hats and we're running all over the place. But
Totally.
honestly, it's like trying to follow a compass that doesn't have a needle.
Mm.
It's
Mm.
like
Mm.
trying to go in every direction possible just to get some
Mm.
stuff kind of rolling in. It's
Mm.
no way to spend your entrepreneurship. It's no way to spend your
Mm.
life. If you are currently feeling that way, please get a hold of Heather Cresswell on
Yes.
LinkedIn, website, Alchemy of Leadership, all the
Mm.
things. And we've got a link for you too for that assessment. Uh, Heather, any final words of wisdom before we sign off
Mm.
today?
Mm. Well, I think, I specifically chose the word alchemy to be in my company name, because I think that when we can take all of the elements of ourselves, all of the elements of our business, all of the elements of our life experiences, and we work with it and we struggle with it and we bring it all together, then this beautiful precious metal, which is you, this gold emerges. And it's hard. It's not an easy journey. The things that I'm talking about aren't easy, but it's so worthwhile. And you're so worthwhile. And I just really wish everybody who listens to this that you fulfill your dream and you step into who you meant to be, and you fulfill your purpose here. And I just wish that for everybody. You are really the gold. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I can't top it off better than that. I can't follow that. So, thank you for coming. Thanks for being a part of
Mm,
our little online family this week.
thank you.
And folks out there, I hope you take advantage because there are plenty of people out there who care and have lots of skills and
Mm,
have lots of wisdom that can help you along if
mm,
you're having a hard time.
mm.
And Heather's one of those people. So,
Yeah.
um,
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It took a while for us to get together, but it's been absolutely brilliant speaking with you, and I just love, love, love the work that you're doing. So thank you
beautiful.
very much.
All right. Thank you. Well, grasshoppers, next week, same bot time, same bot channel. We're going to be continuing this quest for epic engagement. And that's all I have for you this week. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, and I'll see
Mhm.
you in a bot.